Hello, my name is Kathy Kinney. I am an elementary computer teacher in grades K through 5 at 2 elementary buildings. I'm going to be doing my presentation showing you for my Parcc air training. I actually did 2 one-hour sessions at the elementary buildings for teachers that were in grades 3, 4, 5, giving the test, and also test administrators and support staff. Basically, this class was set up to give information and resources to the teachers that haven't had the time to take a look at many of the resources available, or if they needed also time taking a look at sample Parcc questions or air. Teachers filled out a survey at the conclusion of it. I did have 3 of my students that were a little bit, or teachers that were a little bit more familiar with online classes, go through my class for Edci 538. So what I'm going to be showing you is the online course that I developed, and then I'll also show the training that I had given to the staff. The first thing is a pre-assessment survey. When they click on this link here, I used SurveyMonkey to go ahead and just set up 5 basic questions, trying to get a feedback on how many times a week teachers use devices, trying to find out why they do or do not use them, or what problems they have. I also wanted some information on their background with Parcc and how much they're exposing their students to Parcc-like questions and how much time they've had to use the resources that they have found. The first assignment that I've assigned is research and discussion. I've asked the teachers or the students taking this online class to go ahead and take a look at some of the articles that I'd found and some of the resources. There's not many videos that I could find for the teachers that show how classroom setup looks while teachers are going through this type of lesson. So I was, as much as I looked, it was kind of limited on being able to show them what an actual classroom looks like. But I did want to show them some good articles that were out there that showed the steps that districts are taking to get their students and teachers ready. My questions then are on basically implementing Parcc into their classroom, what setbacks they anticipate. There were a few videos that I did find, and then the last questions, how do they see their teaching style changing in order to familiarize their students with Parcc. So the discussion board, they can be posted right here. The second assignment then is to do a classroom, 2 classroom observations where they're watching teachers go through whether it's in-depth Parcc questions, actual questions, or just similar type lessons that would gear them towards some of the testing skills that are needed. These were the steps that I wanted them to look for in this, and that's the flow of the lesson, the interaction of the students, the student comments that are being made, and also the use of technology. From this, they're just producing a 1-page summary using word processing program of their choice. Assignment 2 is the submission then of that assignment. The third task I'm asking them to do is kind of looking at, since there is so much controversy out there as far as the background of Parcc and AIR and Common Core, I wanted them to do a little bit of research on 4 articles, 2 being pro, 2 being con, and then kind of answer back, if they're able to, what is the climate of their district and how the districts are preparing teachers and providing resources for them. The research and reflection then would be submitted here. The last task I'm asking for the online course is a student skill checklist. And one of the things I'm finding that students need a background in order to successfully take Parcc is to have troubleshooting skills. And that is just ways that they can figure out how to refresh a screen or check caps lock or Just look for little tapping inside or outside of fields. But these are like troubleshooting skills that students have to have ingrained in them because teachers cannot prompt them to do that during this test. So in that, knowing that as a computer teacher, I've tried to instill them in my classroom lessons, but I'm also trying to encourage teachers to prompt them with questions. For example, what have you tried to do, or what have you found to work? So in that, I thought there was a need for this type of checklist that students could use even throughout the year or up to the point of Parcc. This I had put in here that they could use Microsoft Word, Excel, or anything, but having it in student language so the students can kind of check off their tasks as a formative assessment for their knowledge. Student troubleshooting checklist would be submitted here. The other links I decided to add were tips and resources for teachers. There is a web resource one. Next Gen Assessments is a really good website resource list that I've used with students for Math ELA Parcc practice. There's also keyboarding skills that they can work on. Each section then focuses on activities that gear them towards the Parcc skills. Of course, the practice tests are on there, but when you scroll down the resources by tool, you can see there's specific links that give students practice on some of the skills they need to be able to do using the graphing tools, the equation editor, being familiar with number lines and protractors. So I found that site to be a really good resource and wanted to make sure teachers had access to that. The second resource that I wanted them to have was the Pearl Trees. If you weren't familiar with that, this is another website that sends you directly to links that give the specific tools, using a ruler, using a protractor. We didn't have much luck with a lot of these on an iPad, but they were able to use the Chromebooks then for those skills. The next one is the PowerPoint. Let me go back. This is the PowerPoint that I'd actually shown for my staff training. And as I said, they weren't quite ready for an online class, so I kind of presented them in a PowerPoint form. This was saved on the school server, so they had access to it, and that way they could use the resources that I've listed, or even just get a chance to go back on their own time. I gave them the 3 sites to go directly from the practice test, either so that they could figure out how to get to it from our school site. I had a couple of videos that were from the CEO of Parcc, kind of giving some background information, reasoning behind it. I made sure they knew their schedule and was trying very hard to stick to that. I gave time to explore resources, which I know many teachers needed. We took a few minutes to recap that and then collaborated. As far as I had teachers give personal examples of what has worked in their classroom, also what has not worked, so that maybe someone from another grade level has had that same experience and been able to figure the way how to solve it for the next time. We also did set some goals for what we'd like to do for when we meet again in March. And again, this was just to reassure the teachers that this could be a building process. It's not going to happen just by the performance-based or the end-of-year test, but we could also learn some skills that could help us for next year. They filled out an exit survey, and at the end of it, again, I said I downloaded or saved this on the school server so that they had access to everything. The instructor info is the screen that I started this presentation on. I've also put in some announcements and some information, and that is just updates that I get from Parcc. For example, letting them know that they can use text-to-speech on math and social studies or science. that is available for all students. I want to make sure they had the testing schedule as it originally was before all the snow days. So that's something that has to be updated. But at the very end then is the post-assessment survey, and this would be, again, a survey that I've posted using SurveyMonkey to see if there is, as they've gone through these observations, if they've went ahead and increased their use of the devices, maybe what they feel they've learned more about regarding Parcc or air testing, or even how to implement it. These are allowed for multiple reasons or multiple answers, so that I can get some more feedback. I'll use question 4 then, obviously, for our March session that we're going to have, and then also I allowed feedback where they could type in narrative. So in summary, I have built this course in hopes to give information and resources about Parcc, but allow them to also do some research behind it, to look at their own district, to get some feelings from staff and how their district stands on Parcc. I wanted to get some skills with the troubleshooting, as I mentioned before, because I find that that's crucial for students to have that bank of knowledge embedded in themselves so that they can fix some of the things that do happen throughout this. But also just to provide teachers something ready in hand that they could look at and not have to do so much searching on their own. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I appreciate your time watching, and look forward to any comments or suggestions. Thank you.